Let's roll, baby. We are back for
Yeah.
another Value for Value music episode, bringing another awesome artist in the house. Her name is Kathryn. Kathryn, thank you so much for being here. This is excellent.
Thank you so much for having me. This is awesome. Like getting it all set up with the cameras
Yes,
on.
yes. It's been a while since we've had one of these. A few months back, I had Joe Martin and Ainsley Costello, two people who we adore, back to back,
Yes.
and it's been a little break since then. And you are this sparkling newcomer to this space, and I'm so excited to share your story and share your art with everyone. So why don't we start with just a bit of your backstory? I know that you've had, an interesting one getting to where you are now, from the old music world to the new music world. So where did you come from? How did you become a musician? And give me some story there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I come from a small town in Wisconsin, cows and corn. So there really wasn't much to do. And I started singing in church, and my mom was like, wait, I mean, you could do something here. And she put me in theater. And then middle school, high school, I did theater, and then I really was stubborn, and I was like, "Well, I should just sing. I don't really want a director that's like on me about how I say my lines, how I walk around the stage. Like, I just want to be able to write and perform." And so then that took me to Belmont, which I initially went there on a vocal performance degree, which my parents were very skeptical about, but also very much like, yeah, you got this. I immediately switched to music business a semester through. Um, I had like 15 classes, half of them were 0 credit. And I was like, I have no time to like actually write, to meet people, to network, to be in Nashville. So I switched to music business. It was the cop out. And I finished out Belmont there, and I did a bunch of different internships that were fun and very educational. And then I graduated and went into sales because that was the option. Which I was in
I
the
did the same thing. I did a communications degree, and like, what do you do? That you go to sales.
yeah,
Everyone has a sales team. That's just kind of it
it
just
was
filters you out into that.
literally, it was just kind of like, well, I don't really want to be the one getting coffee for all these CEOs. And I don't really want to do another internship after college because what did I just pay for? And
And just for
so
timeline, what year are we at right now, so we kind of know where you're at in the journey here?
I graduated last May.
Wow, so this
So
is fresh.
this is
Oh, I love
fresh.
it. Cool.
Oh, yeah. So I graduated last May. I did some sales, which I was in the back of your Targets in the electronics section, cold selling you. Now, I know all of you hated me. It's okay. um, but I did that for a little bit, and that was like rejection therapy to the max. And so I immediately was like, okay, I don't like this. And I walked across the street from the apartment that I live at to a restaurant, and I essentially sat down at the bar, and I was like, you don't know this yet, but you're gonna hire me, and here's why. And I've been working there ever since. And they're able to kind of give me leeway to travel and to do music and to record and kind of say, hey guys, I have a networking event tonight. Can somebody cover my shift? And that has worked really well. And I've been able to go to the Austins and to go to the Wacos and to go to some others that are yet to be announced. So like there are a lot of things that have kind of opened through this space, and I met Ainsley through networking. So for one of these nights that I had called one of my friends and said, "Hey, can you cover me?" I went to this networking event and I met a few people who were kind of in this newer space and were kind of cagey about it because it was like, well, do you really want to know? And I was like, well, yes, I want to know. Like, what do you mean? And so I got to talking, and Ainsley and I kind of chatted a little bit. And the first words out of my mouth were, "So how can I invest?" Like I didn't know like what this was at all. And we kind of talked for a little bit, Jim Ainsley and I, and Julie, and it was like a 4-hour download of like, okay, this is what it is. And I was like,
So hold on, I'm curious. What kind of meetup was this? Because I have the video actually saved on a tab that Derek posted of like you, him,
yes.
and Ainsley sort of talking about this. We're gonna bring that up eventually. But was this just some random meetup of a bunch of artists, or was this a Bitcoin meetup? How did you end up, in this network?
So this was like a standard like music industry networking thing at like a thrift. This is so Nashville. At like a thrift shop coffee bar that turns into a bar at night. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is so. And I met one of her friends through that. She was doing an event, and then I had met like Ainsley, her family, the Costello unit, Steven, and I had kind of had a glimpse of what Nostr was, what Tunester was, and that's where I was like, how can I invest? You know, like, and since then we had that meetup, and then it was like kind of every week or so I would come back and have like 10 questions. Like,
Oh, so this was a
okay,
regular like weekly thing. That's even better. Because
it was
then you can just be taken through the whole journey and sort of have your time to do your homework in between, get
literally.
excited.
So, I mean, the timeline was we met, and then like 2 months later, Austin happened. So they were like, "Hey, we don't really know how to pose this, but would you want to come to Austin with us to kind of meet all these people?" And I was like, "Heck yeah! Are you kidding?" um, that sounds awesome. So I went to Austin with them, and that's where I met Derek Ross, and I met Heather Larson, and so many other people. Like, I'm only know their Nostr names, so it's like weird to like place the real name with like the username, and you're like, is your name Bean? You know what I mean?
Yeah, people
But
love their anon accounts over there. It's hilarious.
they do.
So just to fill in some dots here, that whole time you went through those different phases, like the sales and working at the restaurant, are you still working on the music, or are you sort of just holding that dream in the back of your head, like this is what I actually want to do? And like,
I
I'm assuming you were just sort of looking for a way to plug that into an applicable way to support yourself. Am I right?
Yes, 100%. I mean, I have been fortunate enough that through working at the restaurant, like it's been slow season, so kind of less, but I record every week with my producer. So we have a 4-hour block, and we kind of either push out demos, or we work on beats, or another producer comes in and we collab, or a writer comes in. But we've been doing that since December, and I think I have like 15 songs that are kind of like queued, because I mean, we just kind of go 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 go,
Oh, that's
and
exciting.
it's so nice. It's so good to kind of be in a schedule of, I record at this time, I'm releasing at this time, I have people that are actually wanting to listen to it. Like, I'm not screaming into a void, and it's all just kind of pushing you to go harder and harder.
Yeah, absolutely. I am going to share my screen real quick and play that video that Derek posted of you, because I think this is just beautiful and a great
Yes.
encapsulation. I'm sure that you can look back at this very fondly. I mean, it's
Ainsley
only a
and I
few months
actually
ago.
talk about it. Ainsley and I
Yeah.
talked about it on our podcast, where it was like that was
Oh,
that
great.
moment for me. Well, I mean, we've never played it, but it was that moment for me of like, oh, this works.
Yes. All right, let's pull it up. People need to hear this. It's beautiful. All right.
This is so exciting that I was able to send, like, as an artist, send $1 to another artist, where normally streaming wise, artists make 0.097 on the dollar, so not even a cent. And then I'm able to send a full dollar, where like 100 streams wouldn't even cover that, to another artist. They're able to get it instantly. And it came from money that I just made off of a hosting podcast from another artist. Like, that's just so mind blowing. And we all made, it's only a few dollars, but also in context, we haven't made that in years.
It's the principle
And
of
for it
it.
to be happening in 24 hours is wild.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's so crazy.
It's awesome.
You get it right
Mic
away.
drop.
I love it. Mic
drop.
drop.
Tell me, since that moment, when was that again? It was This
I
was
want to say that was like,
December 2024. So as of this recording, about 3 months ago.
yeah.
What has changed since then for you? Like, it seems like that was the catalyst for you finally putting it together. You're in Austin with the CEO of Nostr, Derek Ross, and Ainsley, the queen of Value-for-Value, and
Yeah.
it clicks for you. It clicks for you. So
I was
summarize like how you look back at that now and what's changed since then.
definitely put in the right place with the right people, and there's definitely somebody watching over me. And I didn't know it at the time. And like I remember meeting everybody there, and Ainsley was kind of the darling, and I was like, I don't know what's going on. Like Ainsley's my friend. Like and then meeting Derek Ross, and Derek Ross is like the CEO of Nostr, who he vehemently is like, I am not the CEO of Nostr. Everybody needs to quit saying that. Like but in the most like respectful way of like, there's no CEO of Nostr and yada
Do you
yada
know
yada.
the story behind why people call him that actually?
Semi, like I remember
Oh, it's
him
hilarious.
saying it and he was like, yeah, I'm just on there and I'm an influencer, and I guess I had become the CEO because I post on there a lot. And I was
There's
like,
another reason though. There's another reason. So he was speaking at an event. I can't remember what event it was.
was he
And
called the
on
CEO?
his so on the screen behind him on stage, it so his business is Nostr Plebs, right? His
Mhm.
his little card cut off the plebs part because it was too long. So it said CEO of Nostr space plebs underneath. And so people crop the image, it just says CEO of Nostr. And that's forever been his title. Because he
Yeah,
also just fits it in a way that he brings the teacher energy to the space. It's hilarious.
he does. He brings like the best mix of like your art teacher and your history teacher. You know what I mean? Like, and that's a random mix. But if you know, you know. Um,
Absolutely.
and being in that space was definitely eye-opening for so many reasons. Um, Seeing all the developers and how open they were about everything, seeing all of the podcasters and how they were so open about all the different programming that they're using and why, and this is the new wave of this and X, Y, and Z, and then meeting all the music people. And everything is so community driven, so grassroots. uh, it was just very eye opening to what music could have been and should have been. And coming from like a traditional college music experience to then jumping into this was like, okay, let's see how it goes. And the past 3 months have been wild for me. I mean, releasing 2 songs, Socrates and Lemons, both have done really well. And the key part of that is that my producer and I split it 50-50. So we've both seen almost $80 from it, which the context of the video that we're referring to is, I mean, you kind of understand it, of where you're making cents on the dollar. And then a few months you have $80 in your pocket. And you're like, although that's not like a full return on investment, it's still a lot. And
You
it's
can see
still
the scale clearly in front of you, which I think is what it comes down to. And this is what I have noticed just on Nostr in general, and what a lot of people are feeling under the surface is that, no one's getting rich off of zaps right now,
no.
or, the tips on the songs, or these sorts of things. But it's so seamless and easy. And the amount of people in this ecosystem is minuscule. So you can just see the runway is finally actually clear, which is
Yeah.
why it's so exciting. Is that once people actually come in and join this universe that we're now building, it's going to scale up like wildfire, and you're going to get real money for this stuff,
Oh my
and
gosh,
it's
yeah.
super exciting.
I if funny enough, I had actually heard whispers of this like years ago. I was 19 working at a radio company. This is my first internship, and I was asked by my boss to go to this like summit because he didn't want to because it was technology and that was my thing. That was my designated field. So, I was put into this like panel, and it was about Web3 and the new ways of doing technology and fanfare, and true fans was mentioned. And there was a few little things that I was like, this sounds interesting. I don't know how to get into it. I'm going to take notes and present it to him and see what he says. And he saw it and he was like, that sounds like out of a sci-fi movie. And I'm like, mm-hmm. And we moved on, like classic kind of. But those were the few whispers that I heard of it like a few years ago. And I'd always kind of piqued my interest. And seeing it like full circle and being a part of it and wanting to grow it is so rewarding and exciting. And if I could only tell her, you know what I mean?
This excites me because I think that a lot of artists and musicians out there have these similar planted seeds hiding deeply in the back of their minds. They've heard of something like this, and unfortunately, a lot of them fell into some like shitcoin scammy
Yeah.
NFT sort of deal. And I even started dabbling in that myself with my
I
photography work.
lost $100 to NFT. I will put
We've
out.
all lost something. I didn't lose money. I lost a lot of time,
Yes.
going through all the altcoin stuff. And they really have a strong pull on these artist brains that aren't super logical, which I would kind of consider myself as well. I wasn't really good at thinking logically through like the format of this thing.
Yeah.
Um, Bitcoin is the winner and the thing that's going to help these people. I'm sure you would agree. So I'm
100%.
sure we can bring that back in later. But before we do, I'd love to just hear your overview of the old music industry that a lot of people are still in right now versus this new music industry, which is value for value based. Could you give us just, I mean, you sort of had a preface there
Yeah.
of like you're making like fractions of a penny on songs. Could you sort of walk us through like what that is like for those who are not in it, and just so we can kind of see the contrast that is now available for people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, traditionally, you're looking at being an independent artist until you're signed or until you generate a certain amount of money and you're able to go on a tour. For an artist, the most amount of money that you will make off of your art is touring or merchandise. You don't make any money off of streaming. You can stream your son's song a billion gagillion times, and that will maybe give him $100. So the traditional model of the music industry kind of forces you to rely on a publishing deal, a distribution deal, a producer deal. And what they don't tell you in the little fine print on the bottom is that that money is recoupable. Essentially, you're given an advance of X amount of dollars. You, being an artist, you go and blow it, or you put it towards recording, or you go and do whatever you want with it, right? Now, that money you need to give back to the label by streaming, by merchandise, by anything. So they'll trap you into what's called a 360 deal, meaning they take percentages from every single part of whatever, however you're making money. So whether that be t-shirts, streaming, which you're already making a fraction of the dollar on streaming anyways, but they're going to take some of it. And there's just kind of this idea of reliance. Now, this new way of music in this world that I see it is you're able to put out a song, and if you have 1,000 people that listen to that song, you just made $1,000. That to me is stable. Now, if you're able to then maximize that, now you have 5,000. Now you have 10,000. And that's a sustainable model to make money. Now, you can't build that type of fan base or money on Apple Music or Spotify or Amazon Music, what have you. This offers another way to make money that's sustainable. And the best part, and this is kind of my business brain coming out, okay? The best part of it is that you get paid in a stock, essentially. It has value. And guess what? That stock appreciates every 4 years. So if you decide to keep that money in that bank account, it's going to grow. And you, as your little artist brain, don't even have to worry about investing. You don't have to worry about somebody managing, well, no, I'm not going to go that far. Somebody managing your money, but you don't have to worry that much about putting your investments into somewhere that's going to grow. You don't have to rely on the 5% credit card thing. You know what I mean? So, all of that said, I think there's still a lot to be done in this space. I don't see it being mainstream, honestly, for another year or two, because I think there's a lot of groundwork with getting people to move over. But we have Napster, which was the first disruption of the music industry. Well, not the first, but we have technology coming in that was a disruption to the music industry of going from analog to equipment that you're now using on your computer. Like, or I'm using right now to record, which that wasn't able to be done. There are so many different advancements going on. Why can't there be one for streaming or how artists get paid? And the question really relies on the people who control it, which goes to the traditional music model of what I learned. So all of that encapsulates too. I the little girl in me wants to believe that I could still be a pop star in the traditional music sense. But the realistic 23-year-old who went to music business school and is living in this current reality knows that that's not able to happen. So we have to pivot and we find a way to move forward. And this is the way to pivot and move forward, in my personal opinion.
And being as new or early to it as you are gives so much opportunity. And this is one of the things I really want to drill in for the artists out there listening and who will soon be finding your upcoming podcast. Hint, hint. We'll talk about that later. Huge bonus to getting on this ASAP and not sitting back and listening to people, because you get a premium from being new to this space, because all the people on Nostr love seeing these new artists come in and join and add this new flavor to the
Everybody has
ecosystem.
been so welcoming.
Could you elaborate on that? Like, tell me about just, I mean, that was kind of your introduction to the space when Derek posted that video of you and people started sharing your song Socrates around. I definitely, boosted that one because it's amazing.
Yes, you did.
And so tell me about just the reaction that you got when people on Nostr found you, this person out of nowhere.
I mean, for context, I can tell you what it was like to release on like DistroKid, like a traditional release, and then what it was like to release on Fountain. Um, so DistroKid, I tried to release my EP. This was my freshman year of college.
What is DistroKid? Is that like another platform you can upload to or something?
It's
I've never heard of it.
DistroKid is essentially in place of a PRO, meaning that they will publish your music and then go and find the money to give to you. So
Okay,
you
so it's
can put
just
your
a
content there.
middleman that gets you
It's
published
Wehrman.
and your music out there. Okay.
Yeah. And so you get your music out there, Apple Music, YouTube Music, yada. And I remember I released it and I was just, like, surrounded by my friends and it was a fun release, but the majority of streams that I got were that night and that night only. Like it was kind of, I had a big spike and then like my friends back home still listen to it out of, or like we'll give Katie a few cents. But it's not really a big thing out there. And granted, I didn't put much marketing into it, and that was my naivete. But that said, I released onto this platform, no marketing, no label, really Ainsley and Julie saying, "Hey, listen to this girl," and Derek Ross saying, "Hey," um, and I immediately released and saw. I mean, my Lemons release was awesome. So many people were like commenting on it and waiting for it. Like I had people saying, "Oh my gosh, I've been waiting for this," and I'm like, "Whoa, that's cool." And kind of that response of already having a community was wild. Like as an artist, like immediately seeing the return on your work was like, oh my gosh, whoa, like this can happen.
And by immediately, you mean people clicking the little lightning button on
Yes.
the song and it's done. You
Yeah.
earn the money. There's no other steps involved of having to carve out
Yeah.
all these things for these different middlemen everywhere, like you talked
Well,
about.
and it went
It's so
directly into
easy.
my wallet and paid for
Yeah.
my coffee. You know what I mean? Like my little $5 Starbucks drink. Yeah, I got a few of those, don't worry. But I mean, I played at the Texas Creator Awards in Austin, or not in Austin, in Waco, and I made $20 off of being up there for 10 minutes. Like, and I know that's not crazy, but from a broadcast stream, like, you don't see that type of money. Like, I think that's where my brain kind of is like, you don't see that money as an artist. You get paid in experience or you get paid in exposure. You don't
Yeah,
get paid.
exactly. And that's
Like,
sort of a meme now, is like the artist saying like the exposure is like this new currency that the people
yes,
say like, oh, this is all you get and be happy with it because we're helping you. And they're not paying.
exactly. Exactly. I
um
I had somebody try to get me to play like a full show off of exposure, and I'm having to hire the band, like hire a sound guy. Like I'm like, you guys don't even understand. Like there's so much that goes into this that if you're gonna have me play for exposure, it's gonna be a no. I'm sorry.
yeah, and for the people that just see these numbers, like you said, getting $20 for a show doesn't seem like a lot, but as we talked about earlier, you have to look at the potential here because it's still a tiny audience right now, teeny tiny.
It's
And you also have to compare with the old model that you just talked about, where let's dig into that a little bit. So a couple notes that I took here just regarding what, let's call it the fiat music model. We love the fiat word here. How being
I
an independent artist, go ahead.
no, I had to ask Julie what fiat was when we were in Austin because she was like, "Oh yeah, and those are all the fiat guys." And I'm like, "Yeah, they are." Like I'm so confused. And that's
Yes,
just me, but
it's our favorite adjective. It describes all that is wrong with this world. And so the fiat music realm is one of the things you mentioned there, is how being an independent artist is basically just a stepping stone to being signed. So
yeah.
you can be funneled into this contract, which none of the artists really like, but they can technically say it's consensual because you signed it, but you really just have no other option because that's the only way to make money right now, right?
Well, or they tell you like, "Oh, we're gonna guarantee 15,000 streams." Like I've had somebody tell me, well, hypothetically tell me that they guarantee multiple different things and then like to get you to sign, like it's sales, like it's sales. They
They're just
guarantee
trying to
all.
lure you in, you
They're
know?
just trying to
Yeah.
lure you in because you are a product, not a person. And like classic examples, the people that you see go viral on TikTok, like the ones that have a song that blows up and then they automatically get a record deal. um it happened to a girl that I was kind of following where she blew up, got a record deal, and it was like a wild record deal, like $1 million, 2 album contract type thing. And then she got shelved because they don't guarantee when they're going to give you those 2 albums. So, what they were trying to do was shelve her so that their artists who were in the same category as her that weren't doing as well would be able to do better. So, they didn't sign you to help you, they signed you to shelve you. And that's kind of like that's just the nature of what this industry does. Like you find the deals that are good to the artist because they have leverage. Like those are the deals that like Kelsey Ballerini goes into after she had dibs. Like you walk into those meetings with leverage, you're able to get a better deal. But if you're an independent artist that's just a writer, or like you don't have money to pay rent and this person goes, "We will give you an advance that will pay your rent for the next year. Come right for us." Like it's it's so grimy. It's so grimy. And I mean, I think Belmont was a perfect example for 4 years. Like, you meet everybody, you talk to everyone, everybody is a musician, everybody runs in the same social circles. It's very like, and I think that on the scale of the music industry is something I really love this space. um, for multiple reasons. And for, I feel like I can suss out people pretty well. And I haven't met a lot of people in this space, or really any people in this space, that give me that feeling of like, mm, should I trust you? Like, and because everybody is so incredibly open about what they're doing and why. And I think that's so powerful for wanting to change such a behemoth of this industry.
And this is one of the things that the Bitcoiners and the Nostrages really stick to, is the fact that we are removing there to even be a need for trust in all these things. As we're removing the third parties, you naturally remove even needing to trust people, which just makes the signal explode, because now
Yeah.
that
Well,
you're
and you
removing
obviously,
that obfuscation, it just unloads so much weight off of your back of having to, like, not only play psychologist by trying to read all these people you're doing deals with, like you talked about, which are trying to screw you at every corner.
yeah.
At the same time, as you also mentioned, artists are being forced to be like money managers and investors, and or trusting someone again to be their money manager or investor. It's just all these extra steps that are in the way of
Yeah.
you actually doing what you love and just making art, you know. And this is so universal for all these different jobs out there. Like, literally name any occupation in the world right now. The doctors, the nurses, the construction workers, all these people doing important things, which artists I would 100% put in like that tier one category of like important things that we need for a culture. None of them are able to just focus on their craft. They have to be
Mhm.
split up between all these different things. And that is the reason why we see so much deterioration everywhere in the infrastructure and the beauty of the world. And things are just seemingly going downhill. And the Bitcoin rabbit hole really teaches you this, how that's all connected to the fact that our money is being stolen from us through fiat, inflation, money
Yeah.
printing, and the injection of all these third parties into everything, more managers, more administration, more people just trying to suck away value from you, the individual.
Literally.
And it's a crazy rabbit hole. And have you been going down the Bitcoin rabbit hole at the same time? I know that you are a perfect example of someone who sort of took a different angle than people like myself, who read the Bitcoin Standard and just went on this crazy journey and ended up here at Nostr now. You kind of started with the Value-for-Value music and then found Nostr. Like, have you been looking at Bitcoin at all, or has it been mostly Nostr for you?
I have. I mean, as soon as I figured out that you can mine these things, I was like, okay, I need a node. I need a whole home setup. But my apartment Wi-Fi would not be able to handle that. There's no way. So I had to take a little bit of a step back and kind of look at it from my logical brain of, okay, well, I can learn about this. I want to know basically why Bitcoin works. Like, I can figure out the hows and how it can be applied, but I need to know why it works. Like, why does the technology make sense? And I had it explained to me as like, you're looking for a password, you create like a Gmail password, and you you create a password, but because nobody is looking for that specific password, it's in the internet, but it's not tied to it. So with Bitcoin and you're being able to mine it, you essentially are putting in a mathematical equation where it's guessing for certain numbers. And if it guesses your number, you get rewarded because you found it. And they intrinsically get rewarded because their password was found and is now solidified in the internet, and yada, yada, yada. As soon as that made sense to me, I was like, oh, that can be applied for literally everything because our entire world runs on the internet. So, boom, that makes sense. And then as soon as I kind of realized, well, every 4 years, it cuts in half. That is automatic appreciation. And I mean, it's been solidified since 2008. Like, I don't know. Like, that to me is kind of like a no brainer of the technology works. There's a need for it. It's more stable than our current US system. And it will ultimately tie all countries here in like countries' currencies together. I don't want to be late to that. Like, I don't want to be learning the technology as everybody has already learned it and I look stupid. So I want to be on that forefront of this is what the world is going to look like. And I think that's genuinely why I kind of dove into Bitcoin a little bit more. My friends are very much like, dude, are you a nerd now? Like, what? Are you a tech bro? Like, what are you doing talking about Bitcoin? You're an artist. like, and, and it's been a very interesting response. But the people that do know me know that this is the perfect mesh of everything that I love. And it's very much a cool new way to do music that I had been searching for that I hadn't found until I hit this space, and then I knew why. Cuz Ainsley and I had this conversation of kind of like if we had been signed into any sort of deal, this space wouldn't have been even open to us. Because as a label, again, going back to the 360 deal, they want to be a part of everything. So if you were signed to a label and then you tried to get into the space, they would probably say, not a good idea for you. Or they would say, great idea for you, give us 50%. Like, so there's no winning. And so if you were signed into a deal, and I had been beating myself up for being in Nashville for so long and not signing into any deal, like there were some things that had come across that I had just kind of said no to. And I was like, I don't I don't really know what's happened, and then this, and it made sense why. Because if I had signed into those deals, I wouldn't be able to do this. Or even really be on this podcast with you.
Just stop. I don't wanna talk about it. We're not getting into what it is or isn't the plot. Isn't tracking, I will not be caught in a trap you sought. Please, I need no sympathy, baby. I'm not the one crying, so leave this peace and these walls I've built. Save your guilt. Oh, I've stayed past my mistakes. You played more poker games. Can't make lemons out of lemonade. It's a shame. We're both to blame, but I still stay. Let's talk. Give it to me straighter. I'm not wasting energy, feelings caught. Tell me, do you want it or thought you had it? So please, I need no sympathy, baby. I'm not crying, so leave this peace and these walls I built. Save your guilt. Oh, I've stayed past my mistakes. You played more poker games. Can't make lemons out of lemonade. It's a shame. Both to blame. I still say.
If you were to give the classic elevator pitch to
Yeah.
another artist, you just walk into an elevator, you have a couple minutes with them to explain, and you can choose to either explain to them value for value or Nostr or Bitcoin or all of the above. what is it you tell these people? This is being used as practice because you're going to be throwing this at people on your podcast soon. So
Oh
give me your best attempt right now. I'll be a harsh critic.
yeah. I mean, I'm very much a cut to it. Like I will tell you exactly what the numbers are. And I actually had this conversation with somebody in Austin. He actually had walked out of the panel, and I had recognized him that he was an influencer from TikTok, and I was like, "No, you can't leave." And I literally I walked out and I followed him. And I cornered him while he was at the elevator. And I was like,
At the actual elevator.
at
Oh my
the
gosh.
actual elevator of the building.
Perfect.
No, literally. I go, "Hey, are you leaving?" And he was like, "Yeah, I don't really understand this." And I was like, "Well, are you an artist?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'm an artist and I'm a creator on TikTok and I'm not really seeing any money from it and I wanted to see if this would be something to where I could make some money from it." And I was like, "Okay. I mean, what I can tell you is that I'm also an artist and you know the streaming model as well as I do, where while you're making pennies on the dollar for streaming, I've released one song on this platform and I've made $50." And they're like, "Hmm." And I'm like, "And I promise it's not a pyramid scheme. I promise I'm not trying to sell you on the 15% off. You can use my code." Like, I pinky promise that if you just come back in and you listen and you hear what they have to say, and I will have you talk to Ainsley, like she's kind of the poster child for this. Um, it's just something that I really think that you would regret walking away from because ultimately this is going to bite you in the ass because so many people are kind of looking to this and they're seeing what could be done. And if you want to be one of the first people, the OGs, now is your time. But if you walk away now, you're going to regret it. And he was like, "You drive a hard bargain." I was like, "I do." And he was like, "Okay, well, I have to go take this meeting. I genuinely do, but I will come to the boostergram, whatever." And I'm like, "Yes, okay." So, and he showed up. He showed up and he watched it,
Awesome.
and we're still kind of chatting. Like, it was one of those things of like a gut feeling of no, like you can't walk out. Trust me. Just I'm gonna drag you along with me, like, whether you like it or not. And it's been just really cool to see. I don't know. I'm not good at like fluff words. I'm very much like these are the numbers. This is what I think. You will regret it. I will walk away now if you don't want to buy. Like that's just kind of my thinking because initially I was trying to like be really coddly and kind of like, "Oh, well, if you think that you don't want to do it this way, that's up to you." And kind of very much saying, like, being almost insecure about it. And then I kind of hit too many walls of people being like, "Oh, well, when it works out, Katie, let me know." And as like, and as soon as I kind of just went straight for the numbers and straight for like and if you don't want to, that's fine. People were like, "Oh, maybe I do want to. Why? Why are you so adamant about this?" But it's been
Because, like we said earlier, they have a lot of seeds planted. They don't even know it. Like these people are not happy with the way that things are.
yeah,
It's just the game, and this is a game that we all play as these passionate adoption drivers who want more people to benefit from this. Is just finding that A to B connection from the problem that all of these people have, and showing that this is the actual solution. And it's tougher than you'd think to get there because they've had so many scams and so much
producers are
noise
harder.
pushed onto them that they just think that everything is there is no solution anymore. They've just been so inundated with noise. They just think that they're stuck there at A, but we do
Oh
have a
my,
B. And
like I mean, you asked about artists and kind of orange pilling them. For me, artists have been a little bit easier because there is a need. there's a need for I'm not making money and I need to make money. Producers are harder because they are making money. If they're engineering, they're getting money from their clients. If they're a producer, they're getting money from making beats and selling them. So they're kind of the harder sell because they're making the money and this model is working for them. And I'm working with 4 or 5 for like the few songs that I've been working on, and like one main guy, and this is kind of all of our friends because music industry. But it's been really hard to try to pin them down and say, hey guys, we're going to be releasing on this platform. I'm going to need X, Y, and Z. And if you can't do it, give me your phone. I will download the apps for you. And I just need an email. And it's been kind of like, no, we're going to do this. And I think that's where my sales comes out, is like, no, give me your phone. And I think it'll be interesting to see when they start making a lot of money, how their response is going to change. But right now, it's been kicking and screaming.
Gotcha. And I love your directness. Don't stop. Like, that's what we need right now. We've had enough beating around the bush in every sense of the word. It's time to get straight to it with some people.
Yeah.
Question. We've talked a lot about how this model and this value for value format is great for independent artists, actual people creating the art. And you just brought up the producer side. And I don't know enough about the whole musical beast to know exactly where they fit into that puzzle. So could you elaborate a little bit more on why it's important that producers learn about value for value and why this will be helpful for the artists as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think my story is a little bit unique because I work very closely with my producer. Like, he's one of my best friends from college, and we work creatively as a team. So, everything that we work on, we pretty much split, whether that be on the traditional like DSP, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, or this platform. For some producers, it's more of a work for hire. Like, you pay them 150 X amount of dollars for the beat, and then you pay an engineer, somebody else to record it, or you pay the same person to record it. Um, but producers kind of fall into this category of, if I'm getting paid, I don't care. That's kind of the general mode that I've heard, but at the same time, a lot of people are creative. So if you've worked or are working in a pair or in a group of people that are producers that don't really know the side of releasing like you do, but still want to share the rights of it, it's harder to kind of get all those things together already in the traditional model. So then you try to put it to this. What do you mean? I used Bitcoin to buy my fake ID. Like, I don't know what else I can use Bitcoin for. I'm like, guys. So it's been producers' job to essentially record artists, to prop up artists, or to pull the best from artists. Meaning, like, you could have a producer in there that's saying, say this lyric differently, or I don't like the way that that note is on there, change it. Like, but they're trying to pull the best song from you, or a producer is there to make the beat and leave. Like, it just kind of depends on who you're working with and what the nature of it is. And it's so subjective. Um, and that's pretty much how the music industry functions. But in my experience, I've worked with a few producers where I've bought the beat. Um, but at the same time, I've worked with a few producers where they've made the beat and I've paid them for studio time, and that's how they got even. Or, I mean, the producer that I'm currently working with, where we split it 50-50. So it just kind of is what you've worked out. Um, and that's what makes it the heavy lift over, because there is no direct channel for a producer. Like, it'd be hard to say, like, releasing on Fountain, 75% goes to the artist, 25% goes to the producer, and that's just a blanket royalty. Because not everybody's going to have that type of relationship. So you kind of go back and forth on what a producer is and how to define it. There's a lot of things that encapsulate.
That's very interesting, and I've never really thought of this actually. How the producer is sort of that, like a foundational slash supporting role that helps the artist be their best, have the best
Learn more things
songs.
about your
They
producer.
they kind of help tweak them and make sure that they show their best self and create the best art. So there's definitely a market for that, of those people coming to join Nostr and sort of plugging into this and being ready. And they can also just kind of lay things out. Like you said, there's different models. They could even
Nostr?
just put out their, like, sort of a contract, like, this is, the percentage I want from your streams or whatever. This is what I do for you. And here's some examples. And it could be really streamlined. Like, people who actually need exactly that sort of thing could easily say, that's what I want and that's what I'm looking for, instead of having to do the whole negotiating thing. It's just a lot clearer.
Yeah. I mean, it's I could see that being a huge market for Nostr. I mean, Wave Lake and Fountain is an A&R's dream. Um, A&R is artist development in a like a label head where they're essentially the ones that scout artists and try to sign them. Um, if Nashville A&Rs knew about Wave Lake or Fountain, it's an A&R's dream. You can go in there and you can cherry pick because every single person in there is looking for a way to break or a way to do X, Y, and Z. So scale this model like a few years down the road. If you were to have a label within this space, and I say that as somebody that does marketing, like not as steep of a percentage, but somebody who does marketing, does distribution, you could add on a producer. Like, I see this being just a way more open source way to do a record label. And Wave Lake and Fountain are an A&R stream. Like, I look at it and I go, whoa. Because, I mean, you find the Cavinas, you find the Man Like Quex, you find the Ollies, the, like, all of Ben Wehrman, the Joe. Like, there's so many different people in here that are so cool. Like, it's very interesting to see how this space is going to get picked up in the next few years.
Oh yeah, I think we're all very excited, and this is just, I mean, just talking about it with people like you is the fact that you're so new to it and already get it so much is so exciting, because it just makes so much more sense than the old model too. Like, people hear about it and it sounds like this complicated, crazy new thing with the Nostr and the Bitcoin and the Sats and the
Yes.
Lightning and the Zaps and all these words that they don't know. But when you really lay it out, this is what it looks like. I mean, you know, it would be helpful for people to just have like a good infographic, maybe. Like, I don't know if anyone's made that before, but here is the old music industry, and to show how much of a mess it is. And then it show this is what's actually happening in this value for value. And it just shows the artist and, the Zaps and the stuff like that. Maybe that would be useful to sort of have as a business card to give out to these people. I don't
Yeah.
know.
No, I mean, I also see that. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm a Chaperone fan, and she just did a huge billboard, like media thing across the country. But I mean, thinking super big, if there was an angel investor that wanted to put a bunch of those on billboards, imagine what that would do. Because I don't know about you, but living in rural Wisconsin, you pay attention to those billboards. You know when they change, okay? You know when they change, when the family that you've been seeing for the past few years is lovingly looking
I'm
at the
from a small town too. It's a big deal when you see something like that change.
yes, like it's a big deal. So I mean, it could be interesting. Like, also, tell me about you. I feel like we've been talking about me the whole podcast, and I really don't know your general background and your story.
Man, I mean, some similarities with you. I came from a super small town, just kind of went through life, graduated from college, didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't have that direction like you did of like, I want to be a musician. I didn't really have like this calling until just a few years ago when I just realized, well, I guess a couple of years ago, I was like, man, podcasting sounds really interesting. I love this. I love talking to people. And one of the things that I always had was that I was always questioning everything. Like when we did those parent teacher conferences, and when I was like 10 years old at school, the teacher would always say, Ben asks so many questions, he's never scared to ask stupid questions. And they were all like happy about that, because most people are scared to ask questions and look embarrassing, but I just question everything. So this is perfect for me for now. My voice is not bringing me to the singing world yet, so I'm going to keep that one with you. I'm going to. I love
Hey,
being the
never
booster
knock
of
until you
people.
try it.
I will say this though. I do want to actually make some songs, but I love the electronic like beats and
Ooh,
trappy bass
okay.
type stuff. That's always been my sort of vibe that I like.
Yeah.
And so I've been exploring what's it? I think there's like an app called BandLab, if I'm not mistaken. I just downloaded it a few weeks ago, something like that. But there's so many ways to just make this type of music, even if you have a voice that sounds like a dying animal like me. And it's good. I'm pretty excited actually, because I feel like I have some potential to put these things together, and I could put out a wave like hit. We're gonna see if it happens. This is
I
on my
don't
list.
doubt it. I don't doubt it. Like, I'll send this in a few years.
Like, and this is the thing is, people don't need to. This is art that you can create, and it can be any type of art. Even if it isn't music, we can open this up to the people that are just making paintings. Maybe Wave Lake and Fountain won't be your thing for that, but get on Nostr, because Nostr just opens up the direct channel for people to appreciate you, follow you, and pay you. Even like I have a friend, Erica, who I pulled into the Nostr world a while ago, and she's just posting pictures of all these murals she's painting, or the paintings she's making, and they're
I think
amazing.
I've seen Erica on there. Like, I
She's
want to say
awesome.
that I've seen the name
Mhm.
Erica.
Erica
And
Arts is her last name.
yes. Is there
And
like a little easel?
yeah. She
Yes.
just posts all this stuff, and even for those of us who aren't going and actually buying the artwork, I still am going to boost it and send some sass, because I just think it's cool, and
Yeah.
tons of people are doing it. It just opens up this new channel for people to get paid and artists that get appreciated, and this is why these sort of episodes I wrap them up and just spam them out to all the artist people I know, because they all have a similar problem in just slightly different
Oh yeah.
avenues. So
Oh yeah.
so exciting.
It's so
Catherine, I
exciting.
think that I want to keep this one not super long, so let's how those artist brains work. They like things short and snappy. Very
Oh yeah.
busy life they got. So why don't we talk about your upcoming podcast? This is something I really want to discuss, because I am always so excited to see new people creating podcasts. I'm definitely in the abundance mindset of the more the merrier. I don't care how saturated it gets. Get more podcasts. I want everyone to just get away from the corporate media side, because it's trash, and everyone should have a podcast. I think it's beautiful. So tell us about this project that you and our friend Ainsley is working on, and how this will fit into this ecosystem of content we're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, Ainsley and I met and could immediately yap for hours. um, we have so many things to talk about. We're both only children, and we kind of immediately wanted to bond. And so we were chatting one time, and we literally look at each other and we go, we should have gotten that on video, because we referenced the Derek Ross video that he heard us talking, and he goes, stop, everybody stop. I need to video this. And I was like, huh? And he was like, yeah. So then I stopped mid sentence, and then we restarted the conversation for that video. That said, we had so many different moments like that where it was like, what we're talking about would make somebody that wasn't in this space maybe more prone to look at it,
It
or
would click for them.
like it
There's
would
so
click.
many of these resonating like little
Yeah.
bits of information that people are just waiting to find that will take them over the hump. And
Yes.
I
Like,
know that exact feeling you're talking about, where it's like, oh, I wish I was recording that. I have the same types of
yes.
friends. And
Like
it's smart.
it's
Absolutely. I love that.
it's that like eureka of like, wait, this could work, but also we're both artists, so mutually this benefits both of us. Of It's a way for a fan base to see how we talk, like what our views are, what we think about, like, and what type of books we're reading. Like, you know what I mean? Little fun things. But also we touch on like Bitcoin and how Trump used Bitcoin to stabilize the US dollar and what that looks like. Like, we talk about what Bitcoin is just from the basic, like, you create a password. Like, that's my favorite opening. You create a password. And we kind of go through just these conversations about life, being a woman in their 20s, like Bitcoin, how that all intertwines, and how this space has really started to make a difference for both of us. And we're just trying to figure out what our audience is and what they want to hear. And so I think for the first few episodes, it's going to be stuff that we've recorded and already done, and just to see what the general reaction is about it. Like, what do you want to hear us talking about? But at the same time, we're both stubborn and we'll talk about what we want to talk about. But at the same time, I really love people's questions, inputs, comments. Like, don't get too crazy with the hate comments. We can take it, but still, be nice. like, like your grandma's reading it, okay? And like questions, comments, like there's so many things that I'm so excited about. And it's become such a routine for both of us. Like, we record every week. We see each other, we get coffee, we chat. Like, it's such a lethargic thing as an artist too, to have that community always. And that's really what we're trying to create, is a community of like-minded individuals who are just looking for something or somebody to listen to that will make this whole thing make sense in a way that they'll understand.
Well, after talking to you and Ainsley for, I don't know, combined couple of hours, you guys are just the most likable people. So I can't wait for you to just open up and just let it flow, because that's what you should absolutely do. And this is like my advice as a podcaster, is to just completely let everything flow out and don't try to put anything into a box, because this is the artist way. You just let things flow
Yeah.
out, and you can always listen back later and say like, like maybe I'll do things a little bit differently next time. But for me, I'm such a perfectionist in a lot of things that I do. So that was one of my goals coming into the podcast, is to allow myself to just throw everything out there and make mistakes and not try to, contain myself, and having the two of you together, two artistic feminine brains who like have a different way of viewing all this stuff than the average like podcaster bro. So valuable. So like I can't wait to listen to it, because I want to hear more of that. The space needs more of this. So I'm just super excited for you guys and can't wait to hear it. So
The first one, I will say, we released the first one and it was pretty long. So if you don't stick with it, that's a-okay. It's really just our backgrounds of like how we got into music, why, what type of weird things have happened before we got to this space. But genuinely, it's very much fluff. So you can listen to it. It is a great episode, but it is long. So I will let you know that.
sounds great. Hey, the right people will find you. Your tribe will naturally find your message when it's time for them and if it works for them. And the cool thing about having, this podcast as well, which I have used it for this, and you can use it definitely, is that you now have a library of these different episodes that you can plug into the brains of the different people. We talked earlier about how it's all this game about getting people from A to B, the problem to the solution. And I've been using this so much in my own life, just like selfishly. This is one of the reasons why I started podcasts, because I will meet people in real life who have a specific problem. Now I can say, I talked to a person just like you on my podcast. I think this would really help you a lot. And I just send them a link to it and say, there you go. Now it's up to you to, listen to this, learn from it. And you will be able to, talking to these artists, you will have like this library of these different stories people have, different pain points people have going through this artist industry. And you'll just be able to bring them in super easily, and you will be a part of their story. The same way that Ainsley sort of brought you into this world, you can, both of you now bring all these other new people into it, which is going to be so cool. And a good question to transition from that is, what are some dream people out there that you would either love to see come into the Value-for-Value world or love to have on your podcast? What are the people that you have in mind that you'd love to just get further into this? Let's give them a plug here.
Dream people, I would love. I am always so up their ass, but I love Kavinia and I love Man Like Quacks. I would love either of them to come on the podcast.
Oh, it's
Any
going to
would be
happen for
awesome.
sure.
Like
for the listeners that don't know, these are already the Nostr lock-ins. They're a lock for sure.
they're so cool. Like there are so many. Any of the bands that performed at Boostergram Ball, like SOB and the Dangs. Um, I'm blanking. There was a lot of country artists. If I could pull anyone from mainstream, I love Kelsey Ballerini. I love her story. I love the work ethic that she has. Like short little. When I went to Belmont, her label head was one of my professors, and he talked about like her story and just how hard she worked and how many years she spent in Nashville and the grime of the writer's scheme. And I just want to hear about that. I want to hear about what made the difference and what kept her moving. Cuz I just think that's really important for artists. I mean, the classic answer is Taylor Swift. Like I want to look at her in person and know that she's real. But also like I think hearing her story in a different way, like not as commercialized kind of I am the Taylor Swift, like just a conversation would be really cool. Um Living or Dead, Aretha Franklin. But that's not able to happen, so. I'm trying to think.
Those are great answers. I mean, this is something you'll just continue thinking about and sort of plugging them in. And what I would say to you is just reach out, because you'd be surprised how many of these people, just from my experience, reach out to these totally huge names saying, hey, do you want to come on my tiny podcast that no one's heard of? And they're like, yeah, I'd love to. Let's chat, And it's a very open field, especially for the artists you're going to be chatting with. So just send those invitations out everywhere you can. And it's going to be an awesome journey. So I'm really looking forward to it. I'll make sure to put the link to that in the show notes. Are there any other ways people can find you other than the usual? I'll give people your Nostr, your Fountain link, and the link to your podcast. Anything else people could follow you on?
I am not on any of the other apps to my knowledge. I'm mainly on Damus, but I know that all of these little apps connect. I'm still figuring out all of the little intricacies. But I'm also on Instagram. I'm on Facebook, like kind of your traditional socials. Um, and you can find me there at KATHRYN'S. That's my full name. And you're gonna have to figure out the spelling of it. You can find me on there, but Kathryn is really what I go by for music, and I think those are the links. That's it.
Amazing. It was such a pleasure talking to you, Kathryn. I'm so glad we got to do this, and I am going to. Actually, here's a question. Can I put your song as the intro of this episode like I
Yes,
did for Joe and
100%.
Ainsley? Amazing. So people will be able to hear it right away. They're going to go find you and listen to more. And I'm excited for you, my friend. It was so great chatting with you. I can't wait for the future. And it was just wonderful. So continue doing your thing, being awesome.
I need to take a picture
making awesome art. Yes, take a picture.
Here. Yes. I'm like, I need one low key for my mom. Don't worry. That's awesome. Okay.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
We'll talk
sure.
soon, Kathryn. We'll be in touch. Talk to you later.